I could not leave my husband. I was afraid. They were taking shifts all the time. Somebody would get wounded, either one of the bandits or one of those group members. You could not really figure out who was fighting whom. We did not know who to be afraid of. There were so many. It's like that during the war. Anarchy, complete chaos. They were all dressed in military uniforms. They all had weapons, but there was no way of telling who was a thief, a bandit, or a soldier. Impossible to understand. And I stayed. Our love almost killed us, and I stayed until the very last day. In '93, on 27th of September, when they had already taken Gali, we somehow got the children out through the woods. All the normal people had got their children and wives out before, but we were all still there together. We could not take the official route across the river Nguri because of the crowd there. An awful lot of people were killed there. There was a barrier across the road, and people were not allowed to pass. For some reason, they were checking documents, while on the other side, there were Abkhazians, armed, in tanks, shooting straight at people. You could not understand who was who over there. People said they were Cossacks or mercenaries. I don't know who they were, but basically, if they were Abkhazians, they were Abkhazians who had also suffered. Many of them had photographs of their deceased. They were wretched too. Innocent people on both sides killing each other. That's the kind of chaos there was. We thought we had reached the peaceful point, but there were horrible things happening there as well. It was the group who called themselves Mkhedrioni. Men in tanks and other vehicles robbing the ordinary people while waving some kind of banners with slogans, Zuiadist or something. You could not really understand who was who. What was clear was that they were robbing people, civilians. They would go into a house and force the owner to unscrew the light fixtures, took his car. They'd take anything worth having, books, plates, everything. They robbed the houses and took everything. If anyone said anything, they would beat him up saying, "Who's asking you anyway?" It was very dangerous. My girls were growing up 6th and 7th grade and hitting puberty, and everyone warned us that there was a lot of violence, so they had to be, well, we had to make sure that nobody noticed them because those thugs were mostly drug addicts and unpredictable. They would stop at nothing. Then, as it turned out, a neighbor with a tractor who had taken us in said, "I'm going to Zugdidi, and if you like, I can give you a lift to Ingiri. That's the name of one of the railway stations in Zugdidi. And then you can take the train to Tbilisi." Just then, the war had broken out between East and West Georgia, the Zuiadists and the government forces, and they closed the road. So again, we were stuck. Another couple of weeks passed and he set off again with us on his tractor. He left us at the station. A train was supposed to come, but it was nowhere to be seen. He went off and left us there. Nobody was around. Everything was destroyed. All the station windows broken. Cold. It was the end of November. I've noticed that it's always like that. If there's a war, the natural disasters start to follow. In western Georgia, we hardly ever have any snow in winter. But that November, there was snow, rain, sleet and cold. We were hungry and frozen. The children's feet were soaking. We left as we were, with no time to get anything together. Their shoes were soaking and I was so afraid. Praying, "Lord, don't let them get sick." We didn't have any medicine and, God forbid, they got a fever. We didn't know where to go. He had left us somewhere by the station. It was November, it was getting dark early, dark by 6 or 7 p.m. And we had no idea where to go. All the doors, there were some houses around there, but they had shut their curtains, the lights were off. There was no electricity. They had oil lamps, but everything was dark and broken. Then later I found out that it was because there were bandits wandering about. If they saw a light in any house, they would burst in. The local people would not open their doors to refugees because the bandits knew that refugees would have a ring or money that they brought with them from home. When refugees flee, they try to grab something to take with them, either gold or money or something, and the local people were afraid. Because there were cases, every night there were screams, people were beaten, and for that reason they decided not to take in any refugees. Those bandits somehow always found out if any house had sheltered refugees. So there we were, left stranded. 3 bags, starving, cold children, getting dark. We did not know what to do, where to go. We could not go back to the house we left. It was 30 kilometers away that we passed by tractor. There was no train. The station was completely wrecked. No glass and no roof, nothing. It lacked in the weather and was full of snow. It was dangerous to stay there. One local woman came out and said, "Don't stay here, it's dangerous." As soon as it gets dark, she said, bandits will drive in and you have girls, she said. Everyone was afraid. Just go anywhere. But where to go? I had no idea. My husband had an attack of abdominal cramps. He did not know what to do. Father of a family, and he did not know how to save them, what to do, and I did not know. There was nowhere to go, and no sign of any vehicle. The houses were all shuttered. Nobody would let us in. No transport, nothing. So it was starting to get dark. But there were still people in the street, although nobody nearby. We stood there alone. The children sat down on the bags. They were tired, and their feet were soaking. It was a mixture of snow and rain. Terrible weather. They drank some tea that morning, but had not eaten anything since. They had been hungry all day. They said, "Dediko," that's mom in Georgian. "Dediko, when do we leave? When will the train come?" It was my little boy. The girls understood. They cried quietly in sympathy, with no idea what to do. My husband was as white as a paper. He didn't know what to do. And the bandits could come and finish off his entire family right in front of him. I suddenly remembered and I said, "Lasha, you've got that religion school book. Let's ask God," I said. "He'll help us." My husband was very ironic. Right, waste of time. He had no idea what to do. But my boy got out the book, a school book for religion, and we sat on the bags with the book, and the first lesson in it was about Saint Nino. We read a short paragraph about her, written for children. Then I said, "Now, Lasha," and then to the girls, "Irma, Maiko, make a wish, press the book to your heart and make a wish, and ask her, and God will make your wish come true." I was doing it for them, but it worked for me too. I took the book and said, "Lord, I grew up an atheist, but it's not my fault. In the Soviet Union, atheism was a subject at the universities. I said, I will be your servant for life. Only help me save my children, save my family. My husband is ill. I don't know what to do." I said it silently. I can't remember what. I just remember asking for my family to be saved. Imagine, silence, it's getting dark, all the doors are closed, which is shameful for us, for our people, but it's because they had no choice. They all shut themselves in to keep away the bandits. If they had let us inside, the bandits would have come at night and rob us all, and if we did not have lots of money or gold, they would have started beating everyone, the owners of the house, everyone. That's why they did as they did, but we were so scared. So as soon as I said it, the door opened in one of the houses about 10 houses away. A shiver ran across my spine. A woman came out at the gate. She tried to see us, but it was really dark. She looks and says something in Migrelian. A big man came out of the house too. Turns out her husband. They spoke, but I could not hear what they were saying. He shouted at her, swore, and pulled her back in the house. The door closed, but then she came back out. Her husband told her off again. Then she came out for the third time, and she says, Rita, Rita. My family calls me Rita. It's only in my passport that I am Roza. Rita, Rita, Sireko, is that you in Mingrelia? I didn't recognize her. First I thought I was going crazy, hallucinating from hunger or from being scared for the children. So I just froze. Rita, Rita, she said again. Seeing that I pay no attention, I thought I must be going crazy. Then finally my husband says, Rita, I think someone's calling you. There's no other Rita here. I said, nobody here knows me and I don't know anybody either. But they are calling you, he said, and she called to me again to come over. She was afraid to pass the gate. Can you imagine what was happening? I went over. Rita, is that you? She said. I said, I'm sorry, but I don't recognize you. A woman my age, a little plump. I'm Nunu, she said. I thought, who is Nunu? How can you not remember, she said. I was your grandparents' neighbor. We lived on Melikishvili Street. Well, it's true. We have not seen each other since the 5th grade. They had moved away. Then she got married, but up to the 5th grade, we used to play together all the time. Even though 25 years passed, she still recognized me in half darkness. And she said, you have changed a lot, but I recognized you by your eyebrows. How could you recognize me by my eyebrows? In the dark. It must have been the hand of God. And she said, I'm sorry, but we have nothing. And she took me up to the upper floor where it was full of people, our people. My 3 children and I were given a big bed with white covers and sheets, everything clean and white. And she lit the stove downstairs. The stove was lit, wood, so warm, and they had a sack of rye flour. And she baked bread for us. They already had dinner, and this was for us. I'll never forget it. And the children kept repeating that no cake, no dessert, no bread could ever compare to it. That black rye bread, baked without yeast, was so delicious. Just a round flat bread, which she baked herself. And afterwards, she left together with us, and we all ended up in Tbilisi. So that was the story which connects us to Saint Nino.